Hi everyone. Today I'll be talking to you about conflicts of interest and specifically conflicts that occur between the interests of a client and the interests of a lawyer. To start with, I'd like you to imagine that you are an environmentally conscientious individual. You live in Brunswick, you buy organic produce, and your home is powered by renewable energy. You also work as a solicitor, and one day you are asked to defend an oil corporation who has a ship that has recently run aground in a protected marine reserve. Do you think that your environmental attitude constitutes a conflict of interest? And if so, do you think you should be telling the client about it? I think this is a really interesting question, and it's one I'll come back to later, but it's good to start thinking about. Currently, there are rules in place, and these stem from the fiduciary nature of the lawyer client relationship. Under Rule 4 of the Australian Solicitors Conduct Rules, there is a general duty to act in the best interests of the client and to avoid any compromise to integrity. Rule 12 is particularly relevant to conflicts, and 12.1 prohibits a solicitor acting for a client where a personal conflict exists. 12.2 prohibits the use of undue influence in determining legal fees. 12.4 provides limits on what solicitors can receive under a will, and Rule 12.3 relates to borrowing. It's also worth noting that barristers have duties to report conflicts under the barrister rules. And whilst fully informed consent can cure these conflicts, this will normally involve the client receiving independent advice prior to actually consenting. It's clear from the legislation that the financial ambitions of the lawyer are the primary concern, and this is reflected in the case law. In the case of Harvey, clients were instructed to invest in his own personal company, and Chief Justice Street found that this conduct amounted to sustained professional misconduct. Similarly, in the case of O'Reilly, a lawyer offered his clients loans in return for mortgages, and the New South Wales Court of Appeal found this to amount to professional misconduct. In focusing on financial conflicts, the law seems to promote an adversarial advocate model, basically suggesting that the client always comes first. But this seems problematic as some conflicts are inherently unavoidable. For instance, we negotiate legal fees, and what about a lawyer's interest in having family time? Furthermore, the rules don't seem to cover conflicts that arise from ideological or political interests, such as the environmentalists that I was speaking about before. And are these interests really superfluous? To me, they need to be considered. In this sense, ethical considerations must remain in order to allow lawyers to fill in the gaps, and perhaps the ethics of care, which acknowledges the validity of the interests of all parties involved, is a better model to aspire to. Thank you.